a rich man's world. I have turned the soul of this beautiful land, but the beauty a rich man's world. I have turned the soul of this beautiful land, but
What is up, fantasy football fools? I know things are looking a little weird right now because I am by myself. Jacob had some come up tonight, so I'm gonna try out the solo pod. I feel like it's been too long since we've done one, so he said he couldn't make it today, and I felt like we needed to get you guys some content out here because it's been a few weeks. Already 3 weeks in the books. It's hard to believe that week 3 is already over, heading into week 4 now. This season's already flying by, and I feel like I say that every year, but it always does. We wait all off season for the season to start. It finally starts, and then it flies the fuck by. But without further ado, enough of that. I'm going to get into our week 3 matchups, and then I will kind of go over the standings and just go over where things are at right now. But I'll go ahead and start here with my matchup. I got my first win of the season, which was much needed after a 2-game skid to start the year. I was getting almost ready to hit the panic button. I wasn't pressing it yet, but it was out of the drawer, and I might have been looking at it. But I finally get my first dub in the book, and it's funny because at about like 2 o'clock on Sunday or 3 o'clock maybe, Chris had already come off a huge Thursday night with Deebo Samuel and who's this other guy? And Jake Moody. Just 36 points on my head Thursday night. I had nobody, so I'm down 36-0, already feeling defeated basically. And then his 1 o'clock guys got off to a pretty hot start too with Mike Williams on the 25. And my guys were doing just okay at 1 o'clock. So, I mean, I had pretty much already thrown in the towel. Like, I thought I'd lost the match. But sure enough, my 4 o'clock guys came to play. Travis Kelce, best tight end in the league, finally shows out. Taylor Swift in the audience. I mean, he had to have a good game. I knew he had to be begging on the sidelines for a touchdown. So happy to see him in the end zone. But somehow I pulled out this dub, and Chris's Monday night guys just did not come to play. I guess not terrible, or Sunday night and Monday night. He had Josh Jacobs and T. Higgins left after I was already done with 125. Wasn't sure what was going to happen, but Josh Jacobs hasn't been super great this year, and T. Higgins has kind of been inconsistent. First week he had a 0. Last week he went off, and then this week with a 4. So, man, I was not expecting to get this dub, but I sure did. With Chris's team here, though, I know he's probably panicking a little bit on Justin Fields. He was an early quarterback to go off the board, and the Bears offense has been dog shit. I know better than anybody. I mean, I've watched every single second of their games this year, and it's a complete dumpster fire. And I wouldn't want to have anybody on that offense, but I know Chris does have Anthony Richardson on the bench, so hopefully he can get out of that concussion tripping on my own words. Get out of that concussion protocol, and maybe we see him next week and see Justin Fields on Chris's bench here. But yeah, I mean, I think Chris still has a solid team, and he's in my division. I think he's going to be a force to reckon with this year. He's definitely got big pieces across the board. Mike Williams going down, though, is kind of going to hurt him, but I think he's got some depth here to plug into the flex spot. Romeo Doubs, I mean, until Christian Watson comes back, those Packers receivers have been pretty solid filling in. But hopefully this is the week Watson comes back because I got him on my bench. And as far as my team, I'm feeling pretty good coming off this 125. We've had a couple down weeks before this, but I feel like this was the week where we finally hit our stride. I think I really just need Jahmyr Gibbs to step up a little bit. He's kind of been hurting me, and I did draft him early. But Justin Herbert's looking like an absolute stud this year. Hopefully losing Mike Williams doesn't tear that down. But really good game here by Chris. I really thought you had it, but I snuck in at the end and got the dub. So we'll get into Jacob and Jeff's match next. This was a big match for the group chat. Always good to have a rivalry, and we've got me, Lubasi, Jeff, and Jacob in a group chat, and us playing each other is always great rivalries. And Jacob sneaks out a dub here with a fairly low score on a 107 because Jeff's team is just looking down and out right now. He is putting the hurt in World of Hurts. I mean, this guy's running back room 7.9 points total from your RB1 and your RB2 is enough to make a grown man cry. I mean, that is absolutely pitiful. And I know Jeff's got to be hurting with that. A.J. Brown, I think, dropped at least 3 touchdowns last night. I mean, that guy, as soon as his feet get in the end zone, his hands turn to brick. And he probably could have dropped a 40-piece last night. But, I mean, 22 still solid there. But it was funny because Jeff was not happy to see him dropping all those touchdown passes. But just a rough week from Jeff here. Jalen Hurts had a solid game. Probably expect that about every week. And like I mentioned, A.J. Brown. But other than those 2 guys, I mean, Jeff's team is just limping along here. I think I looked earlier, and Jeff has the lowest point totals in the entire league. So he is really looking for a bounce back week this week, and he's got to get something figured out or make some trades or something because things are just not looking good in the world of Hurts right now. It is literally the world of Hurts. And then on Jacob's side, solid week with a 107, and honestly solid with his running back room only putting up 10.9 points with his RB1 and RB2 as well. So, I mean, both of these guys just hurting for running back points, and luckily their receivers are picking up some slack, but you can't really count on that every week. So I'm sure Jacob, as well as Jeff, is really hoping for a bounce back on the running backs. We kind of knew with Breece Hall this year coming off the injury, it was either going to be he was going to come back and show out, or he's going to come back and maybe be eased in a little bit or not look like the same Breece. We did see him in week 1 look phenomenal. So I do think that he is recovered from that injury well, but I just think the Jets are kind of easing him back in a little bit slower than what most people that own Breece Hall in fantasy would probably like. So I'm sure Jacob, just like Jeff, like I said, is really hoping for a bounce back there. Trevor Lawrence has not looked super solid this year, but luckily he's got 2 of the best receivers in the league with Diggs and St. Brown. And I don't think any of them got hurt this week. I know St. Brown, I think, has gone down a couple times this year in the middle of games, but he's always come back. So I think he got out of this game healthy, which Jacob, I'm sure, loves to see. Zay Flowers looks great in that flex spot. He's getting a lot of attention in that Ravens offense, especially with Odell out, but I'm not sure if he's coming back this week or not. I think they said he was. But Jacob's got some not a lot of depth down here either, so he's got to keep that starting lineup pretty healthy, and I'm sure he's hoping for a big bounce back week this week, but he does pull out the dub over Jeff. Man, I just can't stop looking at that 81 from Jeff. That is just a tough week from him. But congrats to Jacob on the win here. I think he's leading our division now at 2-1. So I know he's happy, even though he's not putting up a lot of points, but he's getting the wins, which at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. All right, let's get into the next matchup. The hottest team in the league coming into week 3 with Nick. I think that this guy has been doing nothing but dropping hella points on people's head. Almost put up 200 last week, but he finally comes back to earth with a 116 this week and takes his first L to Jimmy, who got another dub. I know he needed that too, but he had a great week with a 135. Let's get into Nick's team here. Now, contrary to the 2 last teams we just went over, Nick's running back room is absolutely on fire right now. Christian McCaffrey, obviously best running back in the league, and he's been staying healthy and just getting hella work. This was a Thursday night game. I got to watch this. Christian McCaffrey looked pretty much unstoppable, pretty much like he has all season. I think this guy has just been putting up, 20s every week. I mean, the guy can't be stopped. He's getting work out of the backfield. He looks absolutely great back there. Barring any injuries, this guy is going to finish as the best running back in the league. Almost no bones about it. Just no question. And Zach Moss filling in for that Jonathan Taylor role after he came back. I think he came back week 2. He was out week 1, but came back week 2. He has just been super hot this year. And let's see. 2 20s in a row too. So this running back room is just unstoppable right now. But unfortunately, the rest of Nick's team decided not to show up. Tutu Atwell, I'm sorry, he did have a great game, but the rest of Nick's team just not great. I mean, 13 from Hawkinson is definitely respectable, but -2 from the Cowboys defense versus an Arizona Cardinals team led by Josh Dobbs is just absolutely pitiful. I lost some money on a bet on that game, so I'm a little bit biased there, but the Cowboys look like dog shit. and a -2 when you're facing one of the weakest offenses in the NFL is, I mean, you can't have that, especially when you're touting yourself as the best defense in the league. You just can't have that. And along the same lines, Dak Prescott versus a not good Cardinals D. I mean, 14 points, just, I mean, a rough week for the Cowboys for sure, which kind of hurts Nick's team because he has the defense and Dak. So both sides of the ball there, and the Cowboys looked horrible and just didn't fill in here where Nick needed it. He falls short with a 116. Brian Robinson kind of cooled down a little bit too. Tyler Lockett he has just not been doing it this year. I think he had, one good game, but week 1, 3, week 2, 8. I mean, up and down, kind of like we saw from T. Higgins when I was talking about Chris's team earlier. Just very inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get. Is it boom? Is it bust? But you don't want to have that, especially when you need to get some slack picked up from the rest of your team. All right, we'll move into Jimmy's team here. Deshaun Watson finally has a great game. He looked really good versus that Tennessee defense, which I don't think is super good, but nonetheless, you like to see a good game out of Deshaun Watson because he's been on the struggle bus a little bit lately. He hasn't been putting up great numbers as a Cleveland Brown. Well, I guess he did put up a 20 week 1, but that 11 week 2 was pretty tough. We'll see what kind of Deshaun Watson we're going to get for the rest of the season because he's been a little bit up and down, but I guess he has gotten 2 20-plus point games this season. So I'm sure Jimmy's happy about that. Now, the Bills defense absolutely wrecked the Washington Commanders this week. So a 31 coming out of your defense spot. If you get a 31 out of your defense spot, you better expect a fucking win because that is almost unheard of. Anybody getting the 30-plus out of their defense should be primed for a win. Amari Cooper with Deshaun Watson, of course, he went off because they both had a great day. And, but looking at this running back room, we are just seeing a common theme here of people's RB1 and RB2 just not looking great. Now, we did start Kendre Miller here, which is a questionable call. Tony Jones, I think, is the main backup for Jamal Williams, who is now on IR. But Kendre Miller, probably not. He probably didn't start him thinking he was going to get like a 15-plus pointer. So I guess I can understand that. And he is the owner of Jamal Williams, so I guess that makes sense. Kenneth Gainwell didn't have a great night. I mean, DeAndre Swift is completely taking over that backfield. And then you got CeeDee Lamb, who was on that pitiful Cowboys offensive performance. Just none of them looked great that day versus the Cardinals. I mean, it was just a rough performance all around. So CeeDee kind of has a down day. Devontae Smith, I mean, Jalen Hurts was all over A.J. Brown last night. So Devontae Smith was just not getting a lot of looks. Even Zacchaeus, the wide receiver 3, had a touchdown and a lot more points than Smith. But I wouldn't be worried about that if I'm Jimmy because he still gets the dub. And we know Devontae Smith is not going to have weeks like this very often. And, of course, he's got a Packers player here, Luke Musgrave. I don't know if he started him earlier this year, if this was a this week pickup. But not surprised to see Jimmy pick up a Packer. He did get him in free agency that was a couple weeks ago. All right. Well, nonetheless, solid week from Luke Musgrave, though. That Packers offense kind of looked pretty rough until about the end of the fourth quarter versus the Saints. They were down, I don't know how many, but they had a heck of a comeback to win that game. I thought for sure they were getting an L. Was really hoping they would. But nonetheless, Jordan Love kind of turned it on at the end there, and they sneak out a win. Luke Musgrave, solid day out of the tight end spot. Tight end's been a rough position this year for most people. Not a lot of notable performances on the bench here, but congrats to Jimmy on a big dub, taking down Nick, who is just looking almost unstoppable through the first couple of weeks. This was a big win for Jimmy and really for the league because I was getting a little worried about Nick's team myself. So we'll get into the next matchup here. We've got, I believe, and I'll check the standings on this to correct myself if I'm wrong, but I believe Rudy is the only winless team left. Rudy has just not had a great start to the season. I'm not to say that he hasn't put up good points. He loses here with a 126, which is just gutting. But James, man, after a rough week 1, James has come out swinging, 2 wins in a row. And this guy's team is looking good. Now, did he have Keenan Allen with 45 points on his team? He did. But nonetheless, a solid performance here from everybody. Jordan Love is not looking terrible like I expected to see out of him this year. He's running that offense fairly well, except for maybe in the first half of that last game. We won't get into that. He gets a 24, and that's what we'll focus on. Tony Pollard, obviously RB1, one of the best backs in the league. Respectable 15 here on a down offensive day. I mean, you'll take that all day because when the Cowboys are really firing on all cylinders, Tony's going crazy. Kyren Williams kind of cooled down a little bit here, though. He was having a big couple weeks with the Rams, and really last night's game was, I mean, the Bengals defense kind of showed out. They were just not allowing a lot. Really, both defenses. This game was just field goal, field goal, field goal all over the place. The Bengals kicker, I think, had 8 field goals. You know, I'm going to go back to that. Let me go back to Jimmy's real quick. Evan McPherson kicked at least like 6 field goals last night, and I think he missed one too. He absolutely did. Yeah, 4 for 5. Wow. I mean, at 20 points, not only 30 points from your defense, but 20 from your kicker. I didn't even mention that because I missed the 20 points from the kicker. But man, that's you can't ask for anything better than that in fantasy football. But anyway, yeah. So those two defenses were going crazy. Lots of field goals going up last night. So Kyren Williams, a little bit of a down day. Garrett Wilson, that offense fucking stinks. He's lucky to get 9.8 every week because Zach Wilson is dog shit. DJ Moore got a garbage time touchdown. Like I mentioned earlier, that Bears offense is just an absolute dumpster fire. I'm not sure I'd want to have anyone on that offense on my team, but it'll be interesting to see if James continues to start him moving forward with the way things have gone. But a great week by James. I mean, a 147, that's a great score. And I mean, you're going to take a 45 from anybody any day. That's Keenan Allen was absolutely going off. Thrown to by Justin Herbert, of course, because he's the best. He's just the best. So we'll pop over here to Rudy's team. I mean, 126, like I said, that's a great score. If you can walk out of fantasy, even with full point PPR with 120 plus, I mean, any week, you're feeling good. But to take an L out of 126 is just tough. Kirk Cousins has a great day. That game was just an offensive fireworks, shootout, whatever you want to call it. Great game there on both sides of the offenses. Great ending to that one, too. That was a tough L the Vikings took. But Kirk Cousins, great day. DeAndre Swift is looking like an RB1 on steroids. That guy, I watched a lot of his runs last night, and that dude was just burning people. Like that, I drafted DeAndre Swift in the first round last year, and he sucked. That's the DeAndre Swift that I was looking for last year. I just didn't get it, but he is just looking great right now, taking over that Phillies backfield by storm. Matt Breida, respectable fill-in for Saquon. I know he's got Saquon on IR right now, but he should be coming back either next week or the week after. So Matt Breida with a 10 spot, not a bad fill-in. Pickens and Nacua, solid receivers. Nakua's come out of nowhere this year. George Pickens, maybe on the worst offense in the league. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. The Steelers have looked better. They looked so bad in week 1, though. But I can't even say worst offense in the league because the Bears exist. So that's tough. Sam Laporta, though, what a tight end pickup that was. I don't know if he was drafted or if that was a free agent pickup, but nonetheless, that was a draft. What a great draft because this dude, I didn't even look at his points. This dude has been on fire this year. 22. Okay, this dude has been on fire the last couple of weeks. But I mean, his targets seem to be creeping up every week, 5, 6, and then 11. 8 points, 11, and then 22. A big game. 22 with only 1 touchdown. I mean, that's solid from the tight end spot. Like I said, tight end's been kind of a shaky position this year for most, but a 22 out of there is great for Laporta. And then Jordan Addison, he looks great on that offense. 11.2, respectable score. Eagles D looked pretty good last night versus the Bucks. Baker Mayfield stinks. But I mean, just really a good week from both of these teams, but James just lit it up, and it's going to be tough to beat a 140 plus on most weeks. And then as I say that, we get into a game where somebody beats the 140. Big Johnny with the highest score of the week, 161. This team is looking pretty good right now. I mean, he hasn't lost a game, obviously, at 3-0, and he's put up, I think, big points just about every week. I know we haven't done any pods for the last couple of weeks. That's kind of why I wanted to get into this today because we've got some guys that are just going crazy, and Johnny is definitely one of them. Last undefeated team, as he mentioned in the group chat this morning. I mean, Tyreek Hill has been an all-star out there. I know that was his first-round pick. He said he was looking for him out of that first-round spot. So he has definitely paid dividends. Another 30 ball. I mean, that Miami offense, I know we all saw 70 points dropped on the Broncos, but pretty much everyone on that team went off. But Tyreek has been doing it every week. And he does it again here. Patrick Mahomes finally gets a big. Actually, he's had pretty big games. That offense has started off slow, but this week they lit the Bears up. 41-10. Yeah, tough day for me. But 25 points from there. 30 ball from Kenneth Walker. That guy's looking really great this year. Alexander Madison finally puts up a big one. I think he started a little bit slow to start the season, 13-4, and then a big 17 for him this week. So, I mean, Johnny's team is just looking real good right now. DK had a big week. Kittle had a big week. Weak spot here, Javonte Williams maybe out of the flex, but he's got some guys down here that I think he could plug if he really wanted to. I don't know. I mean, he picks up he had Jerome Ford, I think, even before Chubb went down. I'm surprised that he didn't start him this week in that flex spot, because if he did, it would have been even higher score. He might have put up, I don't remember what Nick's, I'll look at that. I don't remember what Nick's total was last week, but he might have gotten pretty close to that had he started Ford here. But just a banger of a week from Johnny with a 161. And then on the other side, we got Dom, who's just really struggling out of that quarterback spot. He's had Joe Burrow for the first couple games, who hasn't done shit, didn't do shit again, but throws Daniel Jones in there because I know Burrow was hurt coming into this game. And a three-pointer from Daniel Jones is just brutal. I know after that Thursday night game, he was just not happy. Texted Lubasi. I was with Lubasi in Texas, and texted Lubasi, thanked him for trading him Daniel Jones. Just struggle busting at the quarterback position here. And honestly, Dom's had a rough start as far as total points, but he's still getting dubs. He beat me with a pretty low score last week. So sitting at 2-1, you can't be mad. I mean, he's got some time to figure it out. Jamar Chase finally came alive last night with a 26 ball. He started off a little slow. James Conner's been a workhorse. That guy just doesn't go down. Joe Mixon, not bad, 14. I think that Bengals offense is going to continue to get better as the season goes on, but it has been looking a little bit rough. But you love to see Jamar Chase finally getting involved here. Chris Olave has been a stud all year. Another 18 from him. Darren Waller, not looking great, but also just a terrible, terrible game from the Giants. They looked like dog shit. If you get a 3 out of Daniel Jones, you're probably not going to get much out of Waller. That's not the quarterback I'd want thrown to him, but Darren Waller's a stud, and I do think he's going to pay off at that tight end spot at some point. The flex spot here for Dom didn't do a whole lot with Dotson. I had high hopes on Dotson coming into the season. I kind of wanted him, but kind of thinking now I'm glad I didn't get him. Hasn't made a whole lot of noise. Don does have Dameon Pierce down here, who traded Rudy for on the bench, who possible depth to plug into that flex spot. But a 111, you don't hate it, but you certainly, with full point PPR, it's tough to win unless you're breaking probably, I would say 120 maybe. I think last year we said around like 110 with half point. But this year, I think with full point, you're probably looking for 120 to really be looking for a locked in dub. And 111 for most weeks is probably not going to do it. But I do think that's one of Dom's higher scores in the last couple of weeks. So I think he's trending in the right direction. But he is sitting at 2-1, which is better than me. So I definitely can't judge there. But a great win by Johnny, and he just continues to light it up out there. We'll see how long he can keep that undefeated run going. All right, last game of the week, another high score. Chewy finally gets his first win. This guy has been dropping hella points and still catching L's. Kind of opposite of what Dom's been doing. I mean, Chewy's been putting up, I think, 120, maybe 130 plus almost every week, and just could not get the dubs. But he finally runs into Lubasi, who has not been putting up he's been putting up respectable scores, but he has not been lighting it up. And Chewy finally comes in and gets a dominating win, 157-113. Josh Allen has a great game. Ramondre Stevenson hasn't looked super great this year, but a 7 out of there. I mean, you don't hate it, but you don't love it. 14, 15, 7. Not terrible. Not a terrible start to the season, I guess. I mean, those are respectable numbers for sure, but you definitely want to see more than 7 points out of your RB1. Miles Sanders did come through and pick up some slack. with the 17. And then Devontae Adams. I mean, last night, good God, that guy just couldn't be stopped. Every pass that was going his way, he was catching it. He was getting hella yards. I mean, I think he had at least 11 catches last night, 20 targets with 13 receptions. I mean, 20 targets is fucking bananas. So any day your receiver's getting 20 targets, you're in for a great day. But a 42 ball, and he has Raheem Mostert, who I traded him on the bench with a 45. I mean, imagine if he has him in there instead of Ramondre. We're talking maybe like 190, 180, 190. I mean, absolutely insane. This team could have went fucking stupid. And Thielen on the bench with the 31. I didn't even see that either. I mean, his bench outscored Lubasi's starters, which is actually kind of crazy. 124 off the bench to Lubasi's 113. Oh my God. That's got to be a stat worth recording. Holy shit. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. But anyway, Mike Evans, another great game last night. He has looked pretty good. I think people were a little trepidatious on getting him out of the draft with Baker being his quarterback this year, and he has some contract disputes coming into the season. But he's just been looking really good this year. Evan Ingram, solid day, even though the Jaguars offense kind of stinks. Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked super great, but a great day from Evan. Michael Pittman looked pretty good in that Colts game. That's been a solid player for Chewy too. Dolphins D, only 6 points, but I mean, their offense was the story of the week, so you can't really expect much there. And a 16 out of the kicker spot, I mean, you're loving that. Double digits from the kicker spot is really what you're chasing every week, so a 16, super solid. I cannot believe his bench outscored Lubasi's starters. That's actually, his bench outscored a lot of people in the league. I would have beat him by 1 point, but holy shit, that is so crazy. But we'll jump over to Lubasi's team here. First week putting Tua in the starting lineup, drops him to 28. That's a thank you, sir. That's a solid week there. I'm sure he's happy to build off that momentum. James Cook, decent day with a 13. These Steelers running backs, he just can't figure this out. He did pick the right one this week with Jaylen Warren, who I do think is the better back, but I mean, those Steelers running backs just can't get anything going out of that backfield. I don't know if it's the line or if it's them, but they fucking suck. Jaylen Warren, though, I do think definitely has more upside potential with the receptions coming out of the backfield. And Najee Harris, I mean, the line of scrimmage for Najee Harris is quite literally a brick wall. That guy can barely get past that thing on like 50% of his runs. So Lubasi's got some things to figure out with his RB2 spot. Justin Jefferson lights it up. He had a huge day. I mean, that's going to be pretty much the story every week. Calvin Ridley kind of had a down day, but that Jags offense just was not clicking on Sunday. He just couldn't get it going. Hunter Henry, terrible day. I mean, that's Hunter Henry, tight end. Not going to expect probably too much out of him. He did have a couple good games to start the season, but it's been a little rough sledding since then. Gabe Davis finally finds the end zone, but only puts up a 10 ball. So, I mean, if your guys are getting a touchdown, you'd kind of hope for more than 10. That was his only catch of the day, which is crazy, which means without that, he's getting a goosey, which I'm sure Lubasi wouldn't have been happy about. But hopefully he's going to be getting Ayuk back, and I'm sure Gabe Davis will find his way back to the bench. 49ers defense versus the Giants, solid day. 4 out of the kicker, not great. But nonetheless, Lubasi doesn't put up a huge number. 113, not terrible, but when you're facing a guy putting up 157, when you're facing a guy putting up 124 off his bench, yeah, you're in for a rough week. That's a tough L. Lubasi moves to 1-2. And speaking of that, we will get into the standings now. So we got Jacob over here at 2-1, atop Jeff's division. We got Johnny at 3-0, atop Rudy's division. I was correct. Rudy is the last winless team. So we've got the last winless team and the last undefeated team, both in the same division, and then everybody else in the middle there. That's pretty crazy. We'll see if Rudy can get going and get his first dub this week. We'll take a look at the schedule here in a bit. But yeah, I mean, Jeff's division over here, this is really anyone's game. It's up for grabs. We got all 2s and 1s and 1s and 2s. I mean, there's only 3 weeks in. There's not a lot to break down there, but it's really anyone's game over here. I mean, looking at these teams, I mean, we're all fairly close here, and it could go either way. I'm super excited to see how this shakes out. And then over here in Rudy's division, Kind of the same with the guys in the middle. Looking at these teams, I mean, Nick looked like he was going to basically run away with this thing, but kind of slowed down and came back to earth a little bit this year. So he moves to 2-1. So, I mean, just seeing what people are doing as far as points every week, I really think both of these divisions could be up for grabs. It's really anyone's game right now. I don't see a whole lot of separation just yet. So we'll get into the points for. We still got Nick up at the top. I mean, heavily leading the way with points for, with Johnny, the last undefeated team, not too far behind. But we'll see if Nick can put up the fireworks show again moving forward, or if those were just a couple of fluke weeks. Still not a bad week for him this week, but he did catch the L. So we'll see where that goes. And then Johnny and Chewy right there on his heels. Chewy, like I said, that dude's been putting up hella points and just cannot seem to get the dub. I'm sure he has the most points against. No, he doesn't. Rudy does. Wow. Okay, well, that kind of plays into why he might be the last winless team here. But Chewy now far behind there with the 386. So we'll get into the rest of these here. We've only got 3 people that have cracked 400. And then we got Jeff on the bottom who still hasn't cracked 300 yet. Like I said, that guy's putting the hurt in World of Hurts. It's been a tough start to the season for Jeff. He definitely is looking for a win this week. I think his first win was in week 1 and on a 2-game skid here, if I'm not mistaken. And then everybody else is kind of here in the middle in the 300s. We're all, like I said, I feel like this right now is just basically anyone's game. Nobody's separating themselves too far from the pack. I feel like anyone right now could win on any given week. So let's go take a look at this week's schedule real quick. I know I've fucking taken forever here. I felt like this was going to be quick, and it has not been at all. All right, so I got Big Jacob this week. He is leading our division right now. I'm a 1-2. He's a 2-1. This is a massive game for us. Right now, I'm projected to beat him by 9. So we'll hope everybody can stay healthy throughout the week. But I'm super excited about this matchup and really looking forward to it. We got Chris and Jeff here. I believe Chris is, both 1-2. So these guys are both looking to see who can get that second win of the season and who's going to jump down to 1-3. Right now, Chris projected to win by 5. So really close matchup there. That should be a good one. I know Jeff's on the hunt for that next win. Then we'll move to Dom and Jimmy here. Dom, an 8-point projected favorite, both sitting at 2-1. I'm sure he's hoping that these Bengals can get it figured out with 3 of them on his team. He needs them to get it figured out. So hopefully this is the week for Dom, because Jimmy is no schmuck in this, and he's going to put up some points on him. So Dom's going to need a big week to get that dub. Chewy versus Rudy. This one, man, if Chewy keeps putting up points like he has been, I'm not sure. I mean, this could be ugly. I don't know. Rudy's projected 112 to Chewy's 127, a 15-point favorite. That is not where you want to start the week. So I know Rudy's definitely going to be looking for the upset here, chasing the first win of the season. Just probably really hoping that Chewy doesn't have any more 40 balls on his team this week, I'm sure. Then we'll get into Johnny and Nick. That's going to be a big game. These are both 2 teams that have the potential that we've seen to put up big points, both projected over 120, only a 6-point difference here with Johnny's favor. I mean, this is probably going to be a good game. Judging by the stats of how the season's gone so far, this could be the highest scoring game of the season, maybe the highest scoring game we've ever seen. Or maybe I'm hyping that up too much, but I love to see big high scoring games because everyone loves big offense, and that means high scoring and more points. So, and then finally we got James and Lubasi. James is on a hot streak like no other right now versus Lubasi, who's kind of taking a skid after beating me week 1 without Kelsey. But Lubasi, I know, is hunting for that second win right now, and James is looking to keep the momentum going. We got a 7-point tilt on the projections with James being favored, so that one should be a good game. We really got a good week here. The way the standings are and everyone's record, this is going to be a really good week of matchups, and I'm really looking forward to it. So good luck to everybody. I'm going to wrap this thing up. I don't know how this solo pod is going to sound to everybody. I've been talking for like ever right now. My mouth's getting super dry, so I don't know how this just went, but I'm going to upload it anyway. Good luck to everybody in week 4, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
but